Two, one. Good evening and welcome to Anime-Zing Radio. Doing a little special here on Monday night, partially because Angela's computer died. I was on a train, and Darren was exhausted from a very busy weekend. But we are doing a fun little 1 hour special, and excited to be here tonight talking about an interesting topic. I think we touched on it from time to time in the past. Um, but it's not something that we usually delve too big into. And that's talking about how is it we've come to like certain characters over other characters, and how is it that while watching these shows that we are able to have opinions change based off of how a character grows and develops throughout a storyline. So I think that's going to be a fun topic for Darren and I to discuss. And Angela is currently working on a getting her new computer up and running. So hopefully she'll be able to join us soon. But until then, we want to remind everybody that Anime-Zing Radio is brought to you tonight by Home Circle Media for the latest and greatest in anime gear, everything from pens, pencil stationery, and officially licensed art books. Be sure to check out homecirclemedia.com today or look for them at an upcoming convention near you. We're also brought to you by Casey Fox for all of your artwork, cosplay, and commission needs. Be sure to check out Casey Fox, that's KAYCIFOXX, on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. We're also brought to you by Triple S Lawn Care. If you're in the Raleigh, North Carolina area and you need some lawn care, want some professional landscaping done, be sure to reach out to Triple S Lawn Care. They'll do a job that you will appreciate for a price you can't beat.
Yep, I aim to please.
And good evening, Ross and John. So glad you guys are coming out tonight. Hello to everybody out there listening to us via podcasts, platforms throughout the world. Thank you so much for tuning in today, whenever it may be when you're listening to us on the podcast platform. If you're new to our show, come over to YouTube. We do the live shows typically Sunday nights. Tonight's a special Monday night edition because, like I said, with some computer issues on Angela's end, me being on a train in New Jersey, so couldn't really do anything from that retrospect. But it decided to be fun to have a fun little like 1 hour show with an interesting topic that we really haven't delved into too much. And you know, a lot of times in anime, you always hear about the waifu wars, the husbando wars. Why one character is good, another character isn't so good. Why Deku is such a bitch.
Indeed.
But it's funny because we get such an emotional connection to some of these characters, even though they're very fictitious characters, but they have such relatable traits that it's easy for us to become attached to a character. And it's funny to watch a storyline progress to where a character that you may start out disliking over time may develop into a character that you enjoy and vice versa.
Mm-hmm. I mean, don't forget, they made a whole anime about how a girl changed everything about herself just because something happened to her favorite character.
Yeah. Which show was that again? I forget.
It's him, not me.
Oh, that's right. I didn't see that one, but I have heard good things about it. I think that's one my wife watched.
Yes, it is.
But it's kind of interesting, and some examples of characters that the world has fallen in love with. Last year, in January, after 2 episodes, I said that Marin was best girl of 2023 or 2022, and it was going to take a lot to change my mind on that. And I think it came down to the fact that Marin was one of those characters that she was attractive, the popular, the kind of girl, like a lot of us in school, we saw, there was always the popular girls in school, and a lot of us thought we never had a chance with them or one thing or another. And here comes this show about an attractive high school girl who's got an interesting hobby. Nobody really would think that she'd be like the nerd type, and she ends up, becoming friends with somebody who's always viewed as an outcast. So it's like the dream scenario for many, anime fans out there. A lot of, especially younger anime fans, and especially like in our generation with Darren and myself growing up, where anime wasn't cool. A lot of people kept it hidden. So you didn't know if other people were anime fans unless you discovered it by accident. And John Knight in the chat says he has 2 more episodes left of Devils a Part-Timer Season 2, Part 2, dub. That's cool. Did it get better? I have to ask, did that get better? Because Part 2, Season 1, I lost interest like halfway through. And I felt bad.
I forgot to continue it. I think it did get better. Was it anything like Season 1? No. But from my understanding, it did get better.
And, that being said, it comes down to, again, the likability, relatability of different characters. And, Angela is very big on the storyline. And Ross in the chat says, I think it's because they aren't real and that you don't usually get half of the personalities made up in anime are not in the real world. And we wish they were real, which is true. I think a lot of times it's easy to get interested in a fictitious character because we dream that, wish either A, that we could be like said character, or be with said character. Hence the waifu wars, things of that nature. Example of waifus, picture in the background of Malim Nava from Slime. A lot of people loved that character. She came out as a badass and ended up having a sweet side that a lot of people really were just attracted to.
Yep, and don't forget we saw the sweet side and the mischievous side before we saw the badass side.
Yep. And then you flip the coin, and I know we rag on SAO a lot here. There's a lot of mixed opinions about Sword Art Online, but I think everybody agrees that the best SAO is the SAO without Kirito.
And it's the truth. I enjoyed Aliciazation, and I'll admit it was good even with Kirito, but it was a nice arc without him. It was a nice refresher for him not being in the series.
And again, it's like it's not that Kirito was a bad person or a bad character. It's just a lot of people didn't like the way that character was portrayed in the anime. Now, I don't know, where I'm not a manga reader or a light novel reader for the most part. I've talked about, with my wife about wanting to start reading the mangas and stuff, but A, we don't have the space to start a library for manga, and B, I'm working so much that I wouldn't really have much time to read manga. So it would be difficult for me to really start getting into that habit for the moment until things get settled out a little bit.
I tend to read manga occasionally, not very frequently though, or I'll read a lot of the doujin. So basically unofficial works, and then I don't know how many times I'll be scrolling through my Facebook feed and there'll be like a random one-shot manga that's been shared in some group I'm in or something, and I'll read it, and it'll be like maybe 20 pages or whatever, and it'll just be a nice one-shot story, and sometimes it'll leave you wanting more. Other times it'll wrap itself up nicely, or they could do what they're not supposed to do and post whole manga chapters on there. And sometimes it's enough maybe I should check out this series, or hey, I wonder if this has an anime adaptation.
Yeah. Uh, and a lot of times they do end up getting an anime adaptation. And to add to Ross's point from earlier, he said, for example, of what he was saying, think of a character that is shy, sweet, and kind all in one. That's something you usually see in anime but can't find in the real world.
Very
It's,
true.
especially in nowadays where it seems like everybody's got an agenda, everybody's out for, looking out for themselves. Who can they use to, and I'm not saying everybody does this, but a lot of people are out there to see who can they use as a stepping stone to better themselves, or if they're having a bad time. A lot of people have personalities, especially I've run across in my lifetime people who, because they're miserable, they have to make those around them miserable.
Oh yeah, and working in customer service, you really see that every single day.
Which is one reason why I try not to be miserable. I mean, I have my days when things aren't all, smooth sailing and stuff, but for the most part, I try to stay in a positive demeanor, and I try to, you know, stay happy and be kind to others, because there's not a lot of that in the world. Let's be honest.
My whole thing is first thing in the morning, I don't like you being rude. I'm more short first thing in the morning, especially if I'm short staffed. So if they start getting short with me, I get short right back. But also, if they're overly exaggeratingly friendly, that just irritates the heck out of me. Like, I'm glad you're in a good mood, but you're being obnoxious about it, and you need to tone it down some. I just like, you can tell it's fake.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And when you know it's fake, it just gets under your skin. It's like, ugh, just stop. I'd rather you be miserable than faking to be happy and it coming across. Oh,
And referring to the manga talk, Nunya Business says he knows a few sites where you can read manga and stuff from your phone.
as do I. But because let's be honest, most manga is not officially translated. A lot of it is fan translated because the American companies can't license every single series that Japan produce. I mean, don't forget they have more paper in Japan for manga pages than used in toilet paper. No, that is an actual fact.
That's an interesting fact. I didn't know that.
Yeah. There's more paper used for manga in Japan than there is for toilet paper.
Wow. Stuff that you never knew.
But then again, it also kind of makes sense considering the whole Asian culture doesn't really use much toilet paper in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, most places have bidets.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a little off topic, but kind of on topic for characters. Looking at the picture behind like our two screens here, I know that's Malim Nava, but I could also kind of see a little bit of Ayame from Inuyasha. You talk about a throwback.
I can't comment on Inuyasha because still haven't seen it.
Do you know who Ayame is?
Nope.
Let me see if
I
I
don't
can.
know anything about Inuyasha.
So let's do this. So let's so that's Ayame. I don't know if you can see the picture or not.
Yeah, I can.
But you can see where I kind of have
The green necklace.
with the necklace,
And the
the
ponytails.
pigtails.
Pigtails, yep.
So hair is a little bit different color and the eyes are different color, but just from that picture and like I through my Facebook feed over the weekend, somebody posted that it was like Ayame's birthday, and they put a bunch of pictures up of her. And I'm like, I forgot about that character. And I always thought that
was she a side character or a main character?
she was a side character. She when Koga came in the picture and wanted to try to get with the main character Kagome, much to the ire of Inuyasha, Ayame shows up as the one who wants to be with Koga. So Ayame became Kagome's rival, where Koga was Inuyasha's rival.
Okay.
But I always thought Ayame was kind of a cute character.
Well, sometimes it's the side characters that we like better than the main characters.
And Ross in the chat also says, now we also hang on to characters based on how they look alongside how their behavior comes across. If you take a look, Darren knows the anime character reference I'm talking about, Inori from Ladies vs. Butlers. She looks like a girl with drill-style blonde hair, but is a tsundere. Most times we wish that was real and would want it, but it's not available because it's not real. So we hang on to the characters because we wish it was real.
Which is true, but I've never seen Ladies vs. Butlers, so I know who you're talking about, but I've never seen the series. So surprise, surprise on that one.
Yeah, but like we totally understand what you're getting at, Ross, and it makes a lot of sense. I mean, and speaking of Inuyasha, thank you for the information, John. John Knight in the chat says tomorrow is Richard Ian Cox's birthday. He is the voice of Inuyasha.
Huh.
So happy birthday to Richard Cox, who is going to his birthday is tomorrow. I hope you have a wonderful birthday. I did get his autograph through somebody else who went to a convention he was at, and they brought me back the program from that convention with the signature of him and also the original voice of Kagome.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
So I have those somewhere. Sadly, I couldn't go, and I never got a chance to meet them because that was my gateway anime in, and I would have loved to have gotten to meet them, but still very grateful to have those autographs, and they were personalized to me, which was really cool too. So I think it was one of those cases of where I was stuck at work, and it was and it was like multiple states away.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're talking, this is way back, Inuyasha was like still on TV on Adult Swim and popular. So back in the late 90s, I think.
Yeah.
Now, I think another thing too that attracts us to certain characters, and sometimes it's certain character types, is the fantasy aspect, especially like Darren and I will pick on each other because Darren likes the rabbit female characters, and I like the dragon girls and the anime and the cat girls and stuff like that, and we'll tease each other about it.
But I think we can both agree but we both like horse girls because of
Pretty Derby.
Uma Musume, exactly. It just, you relate with each character's backstory, and their progress in the series, and I don't know, it's just one of those all around feel good shows. And then of course their performances at the end of the races.
Yeah, looking in the chat. Hello, Timothy. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I know it's kind of weird. I'm so happy to see so many people coming in on a Monday night. Um, and we may see times where I'll be doing random shows throughout the week, just depending on what my schedule looks like. Um, Especially if we run into issues like we did yesterday, where I was on a train and Angela's computer died, which she is
Yep.
currently working on. She did get a new computer and she is currently setting everything up as we speak. So hoping that she will be joining us here shortly. And Ross in the chat says, changing subject, most of the animes that ended um let's see here. See if I can get this out the way that Ross is intending it.
Most of the animes that ended like, am I actually the strongest? Saint Cecilia, My Tiny Senpai just ended like bland endings that make me feel that it is this whole show and not much.
And Saint Cecilia started off really good, and we caught up with the last two episodes that were dropped in English. We're not watching it in Japanese, and it started out cute and wholesome, and then it just kind of leveled out. Like you could see a romance kind of arc going up a little bit, and then just kind of leveled off. Granted, the most recent episode that in English, there was a little bit of spiciness that developed, but it was definitely a flip a table moment. And now I'm wondering, like Saint Cecilia had a Tomo moment, and I don't want to spoil it, but a very timid Cecilia who clearly has feelings for Pastor Lawrence. And everybody in the world can see that she has feelings for him, except for him. And that's going to be another conversation just a minute, because I know Darren enjoys another character I have in mind that I'm comparing Pastor Lawrence to. But
I'm about to say it's technically multiple characters that I can pick from at this point, because it's not just the one singular one anymore. They've come out with so many animes where they have that other characters that fit the bill almost better than the OG himself.
But with Cecilia, you know, it's a cute character. She's a fun character, and she adds a lot to the story. And it got a little bit deeper meaning over some of the progress of the show. But when it comes down to, you can clearly see that there's a romance aspect, but the main male character is just so stupid. And when I say that Cecilia had a Tomo-esque moment, she almost grabbed his face and kissed him. And then she freaked out just as it was about to happen. Like, you could see that it was building up to that. And then her timid side just came through again. And Lawrence is just so freaking dense. Oh my God. Well, like at first I thought it was kind of cute, and then it just became annoying with how like completely dense he is. And you know, I think he could be worse than Ichika. Nope. What makes Ichika bad is he had many girls throwing themselves at him, and he had no clue.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy's got one that he cares about. He actually has feelings for, but doesn't understand them, and is just so naive about it. It's ridiculous.
Well, and that's something. I mean, I haven't had it happen to me. Well, I guess it kind of has, where I've liked someone, and well, or not that. I've had a couple times where someone has liked me, and I was completely oblivious to it. They actually, I forget who it was telling me, one of my former employees actually kind of had a thing for me. And then after she quit, she went and ended up marrying someone in the service. And I haven't seen or heard much from her after that, but we didn't talk or anything. Never really associated outside of work. But everyone was like, yeah, she kind of liked you. I'm like, really? Well, I never noticed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not like the most observant either when it comes to that. I think part of the annoyance is I see a lot of self-reflection in some of these characters. Because I had a case when I was younger working at a Walmart where a coworker had interest in me, and I had a feeling, but that there might have been interest, but didn't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
And then she ended up dating somebody else, and everybody's like, she liked you, right? All you had to do was ask her out, and she would have said yes. I'm like, I didn't know that.
Yep. It's like you get these feelings, but at the same time, you're like, do you really want? Is it the rejection you're afraid of, or is it the fact they just believe they're too good to be true, or like what is holding you back?
And I think a lot of times too is we get into these characters and we find characters that we really enjoy or characters we really relate to,
Or
and
characters we want to be like.
I was going to say a lot of that is like a lot of self-reflection. You see yourself in these characters, and that's why you feel like it's very relatable, and you're like, man, I wish I could be like that. I wish I could start off this way and then get better and have that progression. And sometimes in our minds are what holds us back from progressing out. Our fears of whatever may be can hold us back tremendously.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I went through a lot of my life with a lot of different fears, a lot of things that held me back. And it wasn't until, I tried to or started to push myself a little bit outside my comfort zone, especially with doing the podcast and putting myself out there and talking to people and talking to voice actors. And, at first it wasn't easy to reach out to these voice actors that we look up to. It was very intimidating. And it wasn't until I got to, the point of doing it and talking to these people and realizing they're just really cool people. They're just people like the rest of us. They just have like some really cool jobs that we wish we could do, or we admire the work that they do. And it made it a little bit easier. But at first, man, this was so tough to do and so many hurdles to overcome, and personally and internally.
Indeed. And like stepping out of your comfort zone, the reason I haven't quit my job yet was because I'm kind of comfortable in the job. But I've really kind of come to the decision, if I don't quit here soon, then my business is never going to grow. And I think I've finally arrived at that conclusion. And I think in the next couple of months, I may be a full-time landscaper.
Which I think if we're being honest, A, you'll make more money, B, you'll be happier, and C, you'll have more time to actually like watch the anime and do the stuff you want to do, because you won't be wasting half of your your landscaping work time doing non-landscaping work.
Yep. And on top of that, I found out this year when I was on vacation, I got more sleep. I got better sleep, and I found time in the late hours of the night to watch my shows, and still get up at like 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, despite falling asleep at 12 o'clock, and actually be able to get up at 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock in the morning, and not go to bed at 10 o'clock at night and then sleep until 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock the next morning because you're so worn out from the combined exhaustion of both jobs.
And in the chat, Ross talking about St. Cecilia and Pastor Lawrence says, I wouldn't say he's completely dense. He knows the feelings, but you got to remember, he grew up alone, only surrounded by his grandfather, so he never got to feel certain emotions. Which is true.
Well,
and he also said, Darren, close your ears. He has a point about Dreamy Boy is a realist.
I haven't started that one yet, and that's on my list.
But he says that it has a poor ending. And though the show was romance, no romance happened at all, and little character progression. Maybe with a season 2, if it gets one, the story may develop more. But from the sounds of it, it sounds like it was a very slow and disappointing season 1.
Okay. Well,
and Angela had put a thing in the group chat, talking about somebody had made a post up on Facebook
about how this season sucked.
Yep. And I'll pull that up on the screen here in just a moment. Let's get that.
I didn't get a chance to look at it, unfortunately.
So let's zoom this in a little bit. So as we can see here, Zom 100 talking about bucket list of the delayed, which it currently is under a permanent delay. They don't know when it's going to come back.
And to go ahead and point this out, why is this such a common theme among zombie animes? Just saying.
Yeah, I have no idea. And then we have Full-Time Depression. I don't know what that show is.
Can you zoom it in a little further so I can get a look at the picture? It's not Undead Girl Murder Farce. I think I know the one in the middle, but I don't remember that one. I think that's Dead Mountain Death Play.
So surviving a horror story with a yandere.
AKA sounds like a survival game. Sounds like a future diary.
I'm not sure what the next one is.
Jobless Reincarnation.
Jobless Reincarnation. Am I gay?
Because your main character has a re-encounter with someone from his past that he doesn't recognize, but just like in the past, he originally mistook her for a boy until they both got wet in a rainstorm and went to change clothes, and she was afraid to undress in front of him, obviously, even if they were kids, and he kind of just threw off the clothes and didn't realize it was a girl. And then his parents basically said, "You really didn't know she was a girl?" He's like, "Honestly, no."
And then we have Just Waiting for the Marriage, which is My Happy Marriage, which I've heard a lot of good things about. Girl I Like Forgot Her Glasses.
Yeah.
Okay, does she even have glasses? Good Old Times. I'm not sure what show that is.
I think, wasn't that Jujutsu Kaisen? Ross, can you help me with some of these to make sure I'm getting them right?
We have Weird Isekai of the Season. That is actually really good.
So you're not the only one saying that.
I have said from the beginning this show has no right to be as good as it is. And then you have Devil as a Part-Timer, also known as Did You Know I Got a Season 3? Which technically is a Season 2 Part 2, but some people refer to it as a Season 3. I'm not sure about Thick Thighs Save Lives.
I forget which one that is.
I don't think I'm watching that one. Rent a Girlfriend, still no progress. Bodies are overrated.
That's Undead Girl Murder Farce. Basically, girl is a characteristics of a Dullahan. Basically, she's a preserved head. Let's see, what was another show that had something similar? Oh yeah, Demon King Daimao had a similar deal with one of the characters' brothers.
I know the Dullahans because there was also Dullahans and a few other things that I've watched. And Ross says, Darren, you are correct so far with all of the titles. Ulterior Zero video game is the thighs one.
Okay.
No Revenge.
Is that Masamune?
I think so.
Technically, revenge did happen, but it was short-lived, and not. There was a twist in there that I didn't see coming.
Up next is Temple. Which comes through as best plot of the season, and I won't lie, Temple has actually been better than I thought it was going to be.
I was about to say, which type of plot we talking about?
Both. And then Ichigo, Please Do Something Part 2.
1,000-Year Blood War?
I'm not sure. But that's that was the list thus far, and a lot of people. And this was a post from that somebody put up in Anime Boston saying Summer 23 was the worst of all the seasons
so far.
So far, I mean, I think there were a lot of bombs in this season. I mean, there was a few shows that I enjoyed, and there was a few shows I watched just to watch.
Well, next season is mostly sequels, so
next season is, and we say next season, which has already started because on Crunchyroll, some of the fall season episodes have already dropped. One of which I've already watched, called A Playthrough of a Certain Dude's VR MMO Life. And that one could be interesting. And I'm not going to lie, being a race fan, I am kind of tempted to check out Overtake. Seeing that it's an IndyCar / Formula One style race car, it could be interesting. And having been a fan of that style of racing for many, many years, I am curious to see how that show is. Is it something that's worth my time? So I might give it an episode trial to see if it piques my interest or not. I am behind on Temple or Tenpuru. I've got 2 episodes to watch. But that one definitely has been interesting, considering the fact of the storyline. You know, a guy whose dad left him in pursuit of sins of the flesh, so to speak, and tarnishing his name, decides to try to go to a temple to basically purify himself and try to get rid of the unethical thoughts of being a teenage boy. And of course, the temple he goes to is no longer the temple he thinks it is. It's now run by women. And let the fun commence there, where it is very ecchi. There's a lot more skin that's shown in that. Granted, thank you Crunchyroll for all the godlights and stuff that hide the bits, which I think we've all become accustomed to. If this came out in the late 90s, early 2000s, you'd see everything. Not so much anymore because they hide everything in honor,
But even in recent seasons, like in the past 5 years, there's barely been any shows that have required the amount of censoring that the shows from the 2010 to 2020 range did, because there for a while ecchi was king of the shows, and you see the censors get very creative everywhere. And literally in the last 5 years, there's been hardly any shows that have even been worth censoring.
Yeah, Temple is one of those shows, which is why I think you will enjoy it.
It was on my list, but
that and about 5,000 other shows.
Yeah.
Just like the rest of us anime fans, especially as we get older, we have responsibilities and jobs and families and bills and
or just fancy toys that make money but also cost money.
Yeah. Which, I won't lie. I saw one of the lotteries was like 100. I think it was like $100 billion. It was like 1.4 billion or something like that. And I'm like, that would be nice, even if you only got half of that after taxes. It's like I could live comfortably, invest some of it. Wouldn't have to work, but I probably still would. But I think what I would do for work would be traveling around doing conventions and more show promotions, and obviously upgrade equipment.
Well, by then you could probably afford to get in with some of the more well-known people. I mean, I hate saying buy time on their channels, but you can kind of do like a partnership deal on that one. I think Mr. Beast, for example, said in an interview that at this point, a lot of companies that want to put their products in his channel, it's not even worth it to him anymore, because his channel is so valuable at this point that what they're offering doesn't even come close to what he would be asking, because his reach is insane.
Yeah. Which I still think it would be fun to have him on the show if we could ever get a hold of him.
Well, unfortunately, I think we would have had a better chance of getting him on the show a couple of years ago.
And I think you tried to reach out.
But of course. And probably the saddest part is the guy lives in North Carolina. He's in my state. He is in a 1 or 2 hour driving distance from me. But of course, at this point, his location is fairly secure for obvious reasons. If I'm not mistaken, he actually lives in his studio now.
And Ross in the chat says, oh yeah, update. I know I said I would watch 12 anime, but I looked up personality and the sword. And so I looked up personality and the story. And so he added Demon Sword Master Excalibur Academy as his 13th show. I'll be honest, Ross, that is on my list.
That's on mine. Now let's see if I actually follow through with it.
Because I did. I wrote down a list of shows that I was planning on watching. And it is right there. And which one was it? The MMO? I think this one here with the MMO. That's the one that I just started. And of course, we have a lot of, Spy Family 2, Saints Magic Power Season 2,
Eminence
Hanako.
Eminence and Shadow for me.
Pretty Derby season 3, which I still need to watch season 2 of. I won't lie.
Yep.
I got a lot of stuff to do.
Yep. So much to do, so little time to do it.
And Ross says he typed fast. He meant personality of the characters on Wiki.
But
and Angela messaged a little while ago saying that she's reinstalling and logging into everything.
That's the one bad thing about switching devices. You have to remember your password.
Yeah.
Or just know enough to reset them.
And it's it's still kind of fascinating to think about. And Darren, you and I have spent many a shows talking about certain waifus and stuff like that, and we've talked about some of the shows out there that have amazing world and character building.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Reincarnated as a Slime has some great character building and some great, world situation building. Season 1 of Slime, when it first came out and watching it episode by episode every week, felt very slow and drawn out.
Mm-hmm.
But then when I went back and rewatched it in bigger chunks, it actually was a lot better than I thought, which is what made me enjoy and made me want to watch, seasons 2. And we still need to get back to finishing that one up as well. But that has been a fantastic series, and character building and seeing the growth of some of the characters, Gapta, some of the side characters was a lot of fun. Also, as you mentioned before coming on the air, Konako is a good example of a character who season 1 of High School DxD, I did not like Konako. I thought she was a moody, temperamental little bitch, and I did not care for her character. But as her character grew and character development happened throughout the series, I kind of really enjoyed watching the show. And she slowly turned into a character I liked, and then eventually became my favorite character in the show. And yes, some of it may have been because she was a cat.
Mm-hmm.
But she also showed a softer, sweeter side and became somebody that was more enjoyable.
Yep. It's amazing that you see a character, you get to know a character, you have preconceived notions about a character, and then somewhere along in the story they pull out something totally unexpected of said character, and it changes your whole opinion on them. Like, wow, everything I thought about this character is wrong, and why they are the way they are makes so much more sense.
And question for us from Ross in the chat. It says, Doug and Darren, serious question.
I didn't do it.
Are you ready for this one, Darren?
I didn't do it.
Are you ready to watch Mind Reading Pig on Saturday?
Oh, Heat the Pig Liver?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my list, like it or not.
I think we had talked about it, and Angela, because I don't have an interest in watching this, and neither does Angela, but to make a fun show topic out of it, and I don't know if she ever did the poll like she wanted to on the Facebook page. We'll have to find out if she actually got the poll up as to whether or not you, as our fan base, want us to watch it and review just the first episode.
I think we should.
And Ross says he gets a vibe it's going to be a romance anime. This girl's going to get with a pig.
I hope not.
Interspecies reviewers. And other characters. I think it's why sometimes that we also enjoy watching certain shows or certain types of shows. And I've talked many a times how In Another World with My Smartphone became kind of one of those guilty pleasure shows because I thought it was good. Some of the characters were enjoyable. Toya is a fun. He's overpowered, but he's not like a cocky overpowered. Half the time, he doesn't even realize he's doing what he does, but he still gets all the girls.
Mm-hmm.
And Ross in the chat says, best day is Sunday when we get all the waifus as 100 Girlfriends That Really Love You debuts.
Yep.
That one is on my list as well. I am interested in watching that one. And, the thing that brought the smartphone anime up in my mind is scrolling through Facebook a little bit earlier. I came across it. They have a game out about it now. They have like an online game that you can play. Ross says Darren would die if he had that many waifus. I think any man would die if they had 100 waifus. Let's be honest.
I don't know. I mean, some the people in history have supposedly had maybe not that many, but close to that many, I think.
Yeah,
I know they said there's one guy alive today who has like 50, 60
Hugh
people.
Hefner? Oh.
No, not Hugh Hefner. Some guy in Africa.
Man, it's just a crazy thought.
Mm-hmm.
Could you handle that many, Darren? Could you handle having 100 girlfriends?
Honestly, I don't think so. I think my question is, could the 100 girlfriends handle each other?
Or to turn into another one of those, sitcoms you see, or not sitcoms, but reality shows you see on TV. Just all the stupid crap that comes out of those. And I don't know why those got so popular and why they're still so popular. Well, I think it's because everybody loves chaos.
Pretty much. So long as it doesn't happen to them, they just like watching the world burn. So long as it doesn't happen to themselves.
Yeah. Looking through Crunchyroll again to see if anything else new has dropped that I've missed. I don't think so. Oh, MF Ghost is another new one that's just coming out. That was another auto racing one, so 2 auto racing ones. Still waiting for Girlfriend Season 2. I am going to give that one a chance. As ridiculous as Season 1 was, I'm going to give Season 2 a chance. I'm not sure if you're going to watch that one or not. I know you watched the first one or started the first one. And Ross was saying a girl and her guard dog dropped last Thursday.
Yep, I've heard that's one to be keeping an eye on.
So there's, it looks like there's going to be some good stuff out there. Hopefully, hopefully the fall season. And, and I say hopefully fall season will have some better quality anime than the summer season did. I also think that us as a fan base has kind of gotten spoiled and tarnished a little bit by so much stuff coming out and having access to so many shows at once that we're getting over judgmental. Because some of these shows that we're watching and going, this is kind of stupid. If it aired 5 years ago, we would have thought it was one of the best shows ever. But there's just so much out there now that it's tough to find something that's new and fresh. I think that's part of the reason that Vending Machine is so good is, yes, it's an isekai. Yes, it seems like it's another one of those stupid, overpowered main protagonists. But they found a way of changing it around and making it work with an inanimate object that people, especially like in our country, in the US, we don't have a full grasp of what vending machines are to the Japanese culture. If you're like me and have never been outside of the US, you've never been to Japan, you don't understand the culture and the history of the vending machines and just how plentiful there are and how many different types there are. Doing a little bit of background research, everything that the vending machine turns into in that anime was something that did exist in Japan at some point in time. And they do a really good job of explaining, at one point in history, they had this type of machine or that type of machine based on what was going on in the world during a time frame. And so it's kind of neat to see how they made, an object that in the US we take for granted because we hear vending machine, all we think of is Coke, Pepsi, Gatorade, or candy bars. You stop in a rest area, you go to a store, you go to an amusement park, there's vending machines, but it's always the same stuff. We don't look at it as, oh, look, you could actually get a hot meal out of a vending machine. May not taste the best, but it's an option in Japan. You
From
can
my
buy.
understanding, there's not a whole lot in Japan that doesn't taste at least somewhat interesting.
I mean, I've seen videos from YouTubers who live in Japan that have done stuff with vending machines in their videos where you can buy clothing.
Yep.
You can buy kids' toys.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, all kinds of different types of foods. You can buy alcohol out of vending machines. It's like it.
I think there was a vending machine. I think it was a joke, but I think there was a vending machine where they sold life-size dolls out of them. Not even kidding.
And Ross says, quick remind me, are we all watching Goblin Slayers season 2 this season? I
am, and Jiz. I don't think you are.
No, I got 2 episodes into the original Goblin Slayer, and while it wasn't as bad as I first thought it was going to be, it still didn't interest me, and I forced my way through episode 2. And I hate saying that about a show, but I did give it a fair shot. And I gave it more episodes than I gave Attack on Titan, so that says something. And John Knight says 5 more days until Spy Family season 2. Now that's one we're all watching, I think.
Yep.
Darren's like, if I don't watch anything else, I'm watching Spy Family.
Yep, or Eminence in Shadow.
And I know it was going to be a little bit shorter of a stream tonight. just because of it being a Monday night. I know some of our viewership out there may have school in the morning.
Homework.
There's homework there, or some of us have to work. I know that I slept a little bit when I got home this morning from the train after being up all night, but I am kind of tired, so we're going to cut it short at an hour tonight. But let me check my schedule here. I believe I will be here. Yes. So I will be around next Sunday. So, or this Sunday coming up. So, we should have our regularly scheduled AZR this coming Sunday. No guest scheduled as of yet, but that could change. You never know. Sometimes I've gotten good at finding last minute guests. So until this Sunday, when we have more fun with Anime-Zing Radio and Angela can debut, hopefully gets everything up and running with her new computer setup. And we'll be giving her some crap. Because that's what we do. We give each other crap. And for all the years that she gave me flack about this computer, which I have not really had any issues with on StreamYard, unlike Blog Talk, where I think Blog Talk was the issue more than the computer was, but that's a whole nother story. Until this Sunday, I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Stay safe out there. Keep enjoying the anime. We got some new stuff coming out that's already started dropping this week. So enjoy the shows. We'll see you again right here for more Anime-Zing Radio this Sunday. Until then, have a good week, all.